반갑습니다, 여러분. 이번 시간에는 13장 혈액에 대해서 학습하도록 하겠습니다. 시작합니다.
항상성,
Homeostasis, homeostasis, homeostasis.
혈장,
Plasma, plasma, plasma.
혈액세포,
Blood cell, blood cell, blood cell.
적혈구,
Erythrocyte, erythrocyte, erythrocyte.
백혈구,
Leukocyte, leukocyte, leukocyte.
혈소판,
Platelet, platelet, platelet.
조혈줄기세포,
Hematopoietic stem cell, hematopoietic stem cell, hematopoietic stem cell.
적혈모구,
Erythroblast, erythroblast, erythroblast.
혈색소 헤모글로빈,
Hemoglobin, hemoglobin, hemoglobin.
적혈구 형성 호르몬,
Erythropoietin, erythropoietin, erythropoietin.
대식세포, 큰포식세포,
Macrophage, macrophage, macrophage.
거대행모세포,
Megakaryoblast, megakaryoblast, megakaryoblast.
골수모세포,
Myeloblast, myeloblast, myeloblast.
단행모세포,
Monoblast, monoblast, monoblast.
림프모구,
Lymphoblast, lymphoblast, lymphoblast.
빌리루빈,
Bilirubin, bilirubin, bilirubin.
호염기구,
Basophil, basophil, basophil.
중성구,
Neutrophil, neutrophil, neutrophil.
호산구,
Eosinophil, eosinophil, eosinophil.
과립백혈구,
Granular leukocyte, granular leukocyte, granular leukocyte.
단핵구,
Monocyte, monocyte, monocyte.
림프구,
Lymphocyte, lymphocyte, lymphocyte.
무과립백혈구,
A granular leukocyte, a granular leukocyte, a granular leukocyte.
다형핵백혈구,
Polymorphonuclear leukocyte, polymorphonuclear leukocyte, polymorphonuclear leukocyte.
포식세포,
Phagocyte, phagocyte, phagocyte.
짐락자극인자,
Colony stimulating factor, colony stimulating factor, colony stimulating factor.
다형핵과립구,
Polymorphonuclear granulocyte, polymorphonuclear granulocyte, polymorphonuclear granulocyte.
면역반응,
Immune response, immune response, immune response.
항체,
Antibody, antibody, antibody.
항원,
Antigen, antigen, antigen.
거대액세포,
Megakaryocyte, megakaryocyte, megakaryocyte.
알부민,
Albumin, albumin, albumin.
글로불린,
Globulin, globulin, globulin.
섬유소원,
Fibrinogen, fibrinogen, fibrinogen.
프로트롬빈,
Prothrombin, prothrombin, prothrombin.
부종,
Edema, edema, edema.
글로불린,
Globulin, globulin, globulin.
면역글로불린,
Immunoglobulin, immunoglobulin, immunoglobulin.
전기영동,
Electrophoresis, electrophoresis, electrophoresis.
혈장 분리교환,
Plasmapheresis, plasmapheresis, plasmapheresis.
전혈,
Whole blood, whole blood, whole blood.
농축적혈구,
Packed red cell, packed red cell, packed red cell.
용혈,
Hemolysis, hemolysis, hemolysis.
파종혈관 내응고,
Disseminated intravascular coagulation, disseminated intravascular coagulation, disseminated intravascular coagulation.
RH 인자,
RH factor, RH factor, RH factor.
섬유소,
Fibrin, fibrin, fibrin.
트롬빈,
Thrombin, thrombin, thrombin.
혈전,
Clot, clot, clot.
혈처,
Serum, serum, serum.
항응고 물질,
Anticoagulant substance, anticoagulant substance, anticoagulant substance.
헤파린,
heparin, heparin, heparin.
와파린,
Warfarin, warfarin, warfarin.
새로운 항응고제,
Newer oral anticoagulants. Newer oral anticoagulants. Newer oral anticoagulants.
저염색 빈혈, 저색소 빈혈,
Hypochromic anemia. Hypochromic anemia. Hypochromic anemia.
응고병증,
Coagulopathy. Coagulopathy. Coagulopathy.
세포학, 세포검사,
Cytology. Cytology. Cytology.
적혈구용 정률,
Hematocrit. Hematocrit. Hematocrit.
혈색소병증,
Hemoglobinopathy. Hemoglobinopathy. Hemoglobinopathy.
적혈구부동증,
Anisocytosis. Anisocytosis. Anisocytosis.
백혈구 감소,
Leukopenia. Leukopenia. Leukopenia.
형태학,
Morphology. Morphology. Morphology.
골수 형성 이상 증후군,
Myelodysplastic syndrome. Myelodysplastic syndrome. Myelodysplastic syndrome.
중성구 감소,
Neutropenia. Neutropenia. Neutropenia.
변형 적혈구 증가증,
Poikilocytosis. Poikilocytosis. Poikilocytosis.
철결핍증,
Sideropenia. Sideropenia. Sideropenia.
공모양 적혈구증, 구형 적혈구증,
Spherocytosis. Spherocytosis. Spherocytosis.
혈소판 감소증,
Thrombocytopenia. Thrombocytopenia. Thrombocytopenia.
백혈구 성분 채집,
Leukapheresis. Leukapheresis. Leukapheresis.
혈소판 성분 채집,
Plateletpheresis. Plateletpheresis. Plateletpheresis.
큰 적혈구 증가증,
Macrocytosis. Macrocytosis. Macrocytosis.
작은 적혈구증,
Microcytosis. Microcytosis. Microcytosis.
백혈병,
Leukemia. Leukemia. Leukemia.
혈전용해요법,
Thrombolytic therapy. Thrombolytic therapy. Thrombolytic therapy.
혈전증,
Thrombosis. Thrombosis. Thrombosis.
과립구 감소증,
Granulocytopenia. Granulocytopenia. Granulocytopenia.
범혈구 감소증,
Pancytopenia. Pancytopenia. Pancytopenia.
호산구 증가,
Eosinophilia. Eosinophilia. Eosinophilia.
중성구 증가,
Neutrophilia. Neutrophilia. Neutrophilia.
조혈 혈구 형성,
Hematopoiesis. Hematopoiesis. Hematopoiesis.
적혈구 형성,
Erythropoiesis. Erythropoiesis. Erythropoiesis.
골수혈구 형성,
Myelopoiesis. Myelopoiesis. Myelopoiesis.
지혈,
Hemostasis. Hemostasis. Hemostasis.
저혈색 소증,
Hypochromia. Hypochromia. Hypochromia.
철결핍 빈혈,
Iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia.
재생불량 빈혈, 골수무 형성 빈혈,
Aplastic anemia. Aplastic anemia. Aplastic anemia.
용혈 빈혈,
Hemolytic anemia. Hemolytic anemia. Hemolytic anemia.
선천구형 적혈구 빈혈,
Congenital spherocytic anemia. Congenital spherocytic anemia. Congenital spherocytic anemia.
악성 빈혈,
Pernicious anemia. Pernicious anemia. Pernicious anemia.
내인인자,
Intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor.
나적혈구 빈혈,
Sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia.
지중해 빈혈,
Thalassemia. Thalassemia. Thalassemia.
혈색 소증,
Hemochromatosis. Hemochromatosis. Hemochromatosis.
진성적혈구 증가증, 참적혈구 증가증,
Polycythemia vera. Polycythemia vera. Polycythemia vera.
정맥절 개술,
Phlebotomy. Phlebotomy. Phlebotomy.
혈우병,
Hemophilia. Hemophilia. Hemophilia.
자반, 자반병,
Purpura. Purpura. Purpura.
출혈점,
Petechia, petechia, petechia.
반상출혈, 얼룩출혈.
Ecchymosis, ecchymosis, ecchymosis.
면역혈소판감 소자 반병.
Immune thrombocytopenic purpura. Immune thrombocytopenic purpura. Immune thrombocytopenic purpura.
급성 골수세포 백혈병.
Acute myeloid leukemia. Acute myeloid leukemia. Acute myeloid leukemia.
급성 림프구 백혈병.
Acute lymphoid leukemia. Acute lymphoid leukemia. Acute lymphoid leukemia.
만성 골수세포 백혈병.
Chronic myeloid leukemia. Chronic myeloid leukemia. Chronic myeloid leukemia.
만성 림프구 백혈병.
Chronic lymphoid leukemia. Chronic lymphoid leukemia. Chronic lymphoid leukemia.
완화.
Remission. Remission. Remission.
재발.
Relapse. Relapse. Relapse.
과립구 증가증.
Granulocytosis. Granulocytosis. Granulocytosis.
호염 기구 증가증.
Basophilia. Basophilia. Basophilia.
단핵구증.
Mononucleosis. Mononucleosis. Mononucleosis.
다발골수종.
Multiple myeloma. Multiple myeloma. Multiple myeloma.
벤스 존스 단백질.
Bence-Jones protein. Bence-Jones protein. Bence-Jones protein.
자가골수이식.
Autologous bone marrow transplantation. Autologous bone marrow transplantation. Autologous bone marrow transplantation.
한글로불린 검사.
Antiglobulin test. Antiglobulin test. Antiglobulin test.
출혈 시간.
Bleeding time. Bleeding time. Bleeding time.
응고 시간.
Coagulation time. Coagulation time. Coagulation time.
전체 혈구 계산.
Complete blood count. Complete blood count. Complete blood count.
적혈구 침강 속도, 혈침 속도.
Erythrocyte sedimentation rate. Erythrocyte sedimentation rate. Erythrocyte sedimentation rate.
적혈구용 정률.
Hematocrit. Hematocrit. Hematocrit.
혈색소 검사.
Hemoglobin test. Hemoglobin test. Hemoglobin test.
혈소판 계산.
Platelet count. Platelet count. Platelet count.
프로트롬빈 시간.
Prothrombin time. Prothrombin time. Prothrombin time.
부분 트롬보플라스틴 시간.
Partial thromboplastin time. Partial thromboplastin time. Partial thromboplastin time.
적혈구 계산.
Red blood cell count. Red blood cell count. Red blood cell count.
적혈구 형태.
Red blood cell morphology. Red blood cell morphology. Red blood cell morphology.
백혈구 계산.
White blood cell count. White blood cell count. White blood cell count.
백혈구 감별 계산.
White blood cell differential count. White blood cell differential count. White blood cell differential count.
좌측 이동.
Shift to the left. Shift to the left. Shift to the left.
성분 채집.
Apheresis. Apheresis. Apheresis.
혈장 교환.
Plasma exchange. Plasma exchange. Plasma exchange.
수혈.
Blood transfusion. Blood transfusion. Blood transfusion.
자가수혈.
Autologous transfusion. Autologous transfusion. Autologous transfusion.
농축적 혈구.
Packed cell. Packed cell. Packed cell.
골수생검.
Bone marrow biopsy. Bone marrow biopsy. Bone marrow biopsy.
골수우빈.
Bone marrow aspiration. Bone marrow aspiration. Bone marrow aspiration.
조혈줄기세포 이식.
Hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. Hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. Hematopoietic stem cell transplantation.
자가줄기세포 이식.
Autologous stem cell transplantation. Autologous stem cell transplantation. Autologous stem cell transplantation.
골수 이식.
Bone marrow transplantation. Bone marrow transplantation. Bone marrow transplantation.
이식편 대숙주병,
Graft versus host disease. Graft versus host disease. Graft versus host disease.
동종이식,
Allogeneic transplantation. Allogeneic transplantation. Allogeneic transplantation.
면역 억제제,
Immunosuppressive drug. Immunosuppressive drug. Immunosuppressive drug.
ABO 혈액형 검사,
ABO typing. ABO typing. ABO typing.
엡스타인-바 바이러스,
Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus.
과립구 짐락 자극인자,
Granulocyte colony stimulating factor. Granulocyte colony stimulating factor. Granulocyte colony stimulating factor.
사람백 혈구항원,
Human leukocyte antigen. Human leukocyte antigen. Human leukocyte antigen.
정상한계,
Within normal limits. Within normal limits. Within normal limits.